So, Red Notice was the latest film from Rawson Marshall Thurber, and it stars Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and it's about a cop and a world-renowned art thief who basically they're framed for a crime they didn't commit, and now they must work together to stop another criminal from basically getting away with everything. So, I remember when this movie was announced, like 3 or 4 years ago, it seemed like a really big deal at the time because you had, Gal Gadot, who was coming off of Wonder Woman, Ryan Reynolds, who was coming off of Deadpool, Dwayne Johnson, who was coming off of everything, and they were all going to team up for a movie, and it just seemed like, oh, this seems like a really big deal. These 3 stars are going to be in this movie together. They're like 3 of the biggest actors working today, and it would have been a big deal 3 to 4 years ago, and honestly, I kind of forgot this movie was even going to exist. I didn't know what the plot was. I didn't know anything about it. I saw the trailer, and it just looked generic. It could have been like a fun 90s type movie, but it's coming out in 2021. So was I looking forward to it? Not really. And the movie itself is, it's pretty bland. It's really generic. It's really generic, and yet at the same time, it's really convoluted. So let's just dive right into it. Anything that works, the locations are really great. There's a nice spread of different locations like Rome and France and a bunch of random places all over the globe that it's obviously it's okay, so this movie's really expensive because you went to all these countries. So yeah, it's cool, it's nice, but other than that, I just didn't really care too much. And it looks like everyone's having a good time, at least. They're having fun. I didn't, but moving on. And some of the performances are really good, mainly, a lot of people have been complaining about Gal Gadot's performance. I actually didn't mind her too much here. I remember watching her on SNL a few years ago, and I thought she was really bad. But here, she's actually not that bad. She was actually really funny. I didn't mind her too much. She looked like she was having the most fun out of everyone in the movie, so that's good. And also, there's a funny cameo in this movie that I didn't even see coming, and it's just so not like how I imagined this person. I mean, I'm not really the biggest fan of this person, but I never expected them to do anything that they do in this movie. So, that was a fun cameo, I guess. Now let's talk about what I didn't care for. First off, Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds, they're not a good pair, unfortunately. I blame the script mostly. I'm pretty sure I hope they get along together well. I just feel like the script did not really do anything for them. I just felt like their chemistry was just non-existent. It was just very bland. Dwayne Johnson has better chemistry in movies with, they've both done movies. Both of them have done movies like this, where they have to team up with someone. It's a buddy movie, Dwayne Johnson had movies like, say, Hobbs and Shaw and Central Intelligence. Ryan Reynolds had Hitman's Bodyguard and Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and They've done this before. It's not as interesting. It's just them just kind of going back and forth, and it's just not as interesting. Their lines aren't that funny. A lot of the jokes in this movie are just pop culture references that are probably going to be dated within a few years. And it's just not that funny. It's just, oh, I recognize what you just said. It's just a pop culture reference. It's not that funny. And it's just kind of bland for the most part. Most of the jokes just fall flat. And it's just not interesting. And as well as a bunch of the action scenes, it's a lot of shaky cam. You can definitely tell when the actors are not in the shot, and it's just not. I just don't feel anything if they're if you can't really see what's going on, if you can't really tell who's in the scene. It just does not work. And also, even though I mentioned that, even though they have a lot of locations that look really great, there are a lot of moments that look like it's done in CGI. Now, to be fair, they did shoot a good portion of this during the pandemic, so they probably couldn't go to a lot of these places. But it just looks really, really fake. It looks really, really bad. And it's just these people have done professional movies before, right? This movie cost $200 million to make. And that's the best you can do. Was that just for the actors' salaries? I don't know. And on top of that, the plot is just way too convoluted, and it just becomes way too unpredictable. And not necessarily unpredictable, but just unbelievable. There's a ton of twists, And with each new twist, I just bought it less and less. I just didn't care for any of the surprises. It just became even more convoluted just for the sake of it being convoluted, and it just did not work for me. I really didn't care for this movie. I wanted to care for this movie, and I'm not trying to be mean saying, oh, this is not a, this is not an awards movie, so why should I care? Honestly, I don't mind a fun movie, just as long as I'm having fun. And clearly, the actors involved in this movie were having fun. I just didn't think a lot of the stuff they worked with were that fun. I didn't think the jokes were that fun. I didn't think their chemistry was that great. I didn't think the action scenes were that well. Even though, again, looks like they're having a good time, I just wish that the audience had a good time while watching this. So Red Notice, it's a letdown. Even though it, again, it has great locations and some good performances, and everyone looks like they're having a good time. I just felt the plot was just way too convoluted. Their jokes are already dated, to be honest. And the chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds is just gone. It's just not even there. I wanted this movie to be really good. I want, not necessarily really good, but really, really fun. Like a fun send-up of those ridiculous 90s movies that could have been really serious, but they were really ridiculous and they knew what they were. This movie just wants to be everything, and it just falls apart. I'm going to give Red Notice 1.5 out of 4 stars. Stream it. I like all 3 of them, but this was just a letdown. So, what'd you think of Red Notice? Also, what's your favorite buddy movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.